Well, hello again and welcome to another edition of Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of caged birds with a special focus on the exhibition style budgerigar. As you can probably tell, I'm in the Finch and Fife shed, which means unfortunately there is no Shed Talk with this month. I do apologise for that. Partly down to the fact that I wasn't able to get out and about due to testing positive for COVID for a couple of weeks, and then also a number of other things that just prevented that from happening. I do hope there will be one next month, so if possible I will try and get a couple of those out and about type videos out in April if possible. So anyway, what have we got for you in this particular episode then? So this month, as we're out here with the Finches and Fifes, I thought I'd start off by having a good look at the setup I've got for the breeding of the Fife Canaries and just talk a little bit about how they are at the moment, what they're doing and what they're not doing, I suppose. So that will be the first focus. We will have another Shed Talk question time. There are a couple of questions that come in that I'll talk about. You know, if you've got any questions, don't forget to post them in the comments or over on the Shed Talk Facebook page, and I will do my best to answer them. Just do bear in mind, you know, there are lots of people who know far more about exhibition style budgerigars and the various other bits and pieces like the Fifes than I ever will do, so I will just answer them the best I can and as I would do in my particular shed. So like I say, a couple of questions in the Shed Talk question time, and then finally we'll go back into the budgerigar flight and we will take a look at any of the major changes in the budgerigar breeding setup. I did post a picture of one of the young birds on the Facebook page. It was a short video actually of one of the young birds I'd just moved to the nappy flight, and there was lots of positive comments on that. I need to get my teeth in. Lots of positive comments on that particular bird. Thank you very much for that. We'll have to see how that one develops, of course. You know, as always, they do tend to go backwards a little bit, so we'll see how that one develops, but it did look quite promising from my point of view. If you're not a member of the Facebook page, then do pop across there and take a look. I am posting a little bit more on there. I try to post something each day. There will be a couple of videos of the various birds and things, along with some other bits and pieces. So if you're not a member of the Facebook page, do go across there. And of course, if you enjoy the videos, then do hit the like button. I've had some really good feedback on the comments section of the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for that. And do continue to comment, do like, and of course if you haven't already subscribed, then do subscribe to the channel. It does help the channel to grow, and of course promotes the bird keeping hobby to a slightly wider audience than we may get otherwise. Right, so let's talk a little bit about these Fifes then. So I'm pleased to say I have now got the Fifes in the breeding cage. You can have a look at them here. They are still separated, so I've still got the cockbird on one side and the hen on the other. I know I probably didn't need to, given that they were the only two birds that I've got I had in the flight, but I thought, seeing as that's what I plan to do in the future, that's what I would do now. They're separated by a wire divider, so they can see each other, and the cockbird can feed the hen through the wire if he wishes to. So they're in there now. There are two perches either side, as you can see. The rest of the setup then, in terms of feeding, currently the main feeds in there is so on a daily they get a plain canary in the main feeder, the small feeders at the bottom. There's also available to them in the other small feeder some charcoal and a grit mixed that they have been used to in the main flight, so I thought I would just continue that. The other daily thing is obviously water, and in the water every day, or virtually every day, they will get Aviform Gold, which is a supplement that goes into the water, a general supplement that helps with the conditioning of the birds and the breeding of them. I also give that to the budgerigars, I should probably be aware. So every other day what I am giving the birds is on one day they will get a canary conditioning seed. We will take a look at that and I'll show you what that looks like. It's from Haves, which is where I get all of my seed from, as regular viewers will be aware of. So they get that on one day, and then on an alternative day, so the following day, they will currently get a soft food mix. That's my plan at the moment. As they come into condition, what I will probably do is give them the conditioning seed every day, but also the soft food every day. So that's what they are getting every other day. They will also get probably about every other day some green food. Normally that will be broccoli. As you can also see, I've attached the nest pan to the outside of the cage, and the side of the cage that the hen is. I just saw this on one of, I can't remember whose video it was, one of the canary YouTubers. Were saying that they place them on the outside so the hen gets used to that being there, gets used to the look of it, and isn't so shocked when you put it into the cage. So that's why I'm doing that, just because I saw somebody else doing it. Let me know your thoughts on that, whether you think that's a good idea or whether you've not had any particular problems with the hen being spooked by the sudden appearance of a nest pan in the cage. The other thing that I've just started doing, you can probably see, is I put a bit of the nesting material in the cage and also in a little basket at the bottom of the cage, so that they can the hen can pick at that, and I will be able to identify whether or not she is carrying that around with her, and get that impression as to whether or not she's going to go down or looking to go down to nest. So lighting then, those of you who have been following the fives in the channel for some time will know that I've gradually been increasing the lighting. By the time this video goes out, the lighting will be on from about 5:30 in the morning till about 6:30 in the evening, and that gives me about 13 hours worth of lighting in here, and that will increase up to the 14 hours over the next 2 weeks. So that's the lighting. The other thing that I've done is I've moved a small foldable chair into here. That gives me a chance, just to sit in here for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, just observing them, keeping an eye on them, listening to how the cock's song is going. Currently, we're on the subject of the cock's song. Currently, he gives a slight, almost a half-hearted attempt at singing, so no major burst of song. I'm hoping that will improve now we've got them in the breeding cage and starting to condition them with the soft food and the conditioning seed. So I'm hoping that will improve. Touch wood. Let's see how that goes, and if I catch him on video singing, I will post that on the Facebook page and probably also in a future video. So so that's the other change. I've got a little chair in here. I can sit in here and listen to the cockbird, observe them a little bit, and particularly as it's nowhere near as cold as it has been, as you can probably tell. I haven't got the big sort of Russian Cossack hat on, so it's a bit warmer in here. Still too cold to go without the fleece, for me anyway. So but I do sit out here, give it about half an hour, 45 minutes, just watching them, observing them. It's always quite nice and quite enjoyable seeing the difference between the way they behave and the way the budgerigars behave. So that's where we are then with the current setup in here with the fives. While I'm in here, I'll talk just very briefly about the the finches. So the finches are remaining very active, and the only ones that I've got any pairs of, really, I suppose, are the zebra finches. Once I'm happy that the canaries have started to look like they're going to breed, I'll get into the finch fly and just give it a clean up, get rid of all of the muck that's accumulated over the last 3 or 4 months. Disinfect the perches, that sort of thing. And then my plan, as you're probably aware, is to put some nest boxes up for the zebra finches. If I can get hold of some additional Bengalese or some spice finch or whatever, then I will probably get hold of another pair and see if I can breed those in there as well. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So that's just about it from out here in the Finch and Five shed. What we'll do now is we'll pop back into the budgerigar shed and have a look at the budgerigars. But before we do that, of course, let's not forget we've got Shed Talk question time. Well, I must admit, I really do enjoy just sitting out there for that half an hour to an hour watching the birds. And I know I always say at the end of every video, to enjoy your birds. And I think one of the great pleasures, I suppose, of keeping any of the birds, whether it be the budgerigars, the finches, or whatever, is just watching them interact, seeing their behaviour, and trying to pick up on some of the signs to see, are they in breeding condition, that sort of thing. It really does, it's one of those, I suppose, one of the reasons why we keep them. Great for our overall, mental health, or overall health, I think. So, yeah, it was. And the finches, the 5-hour new challenge, and it's all very exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next month or two. And I know lots of my friends who are breeding fives already got them down, already breeding, and I recently saw one post with some young chicks waiting to be fed. So I can't wait until I can see something similar. Touch wood, let's hope so. Anyway, it was time for the Shed Talk question time, and we had a couple of questions come in via the comment section of the YouTube. The first one of those was really just about at what age do I retire the hen from breeding. Well, that is a difficult one for me anyway. So I suppose really, 3 years, after 3 years, most of the hens, exhibition budgerigars we're talking about here, probably after 3 years are reaching the end of their breeding lifespan, I suppose. And however, if like me, I had a lean period the last 2 breeding seasons where I didn't produce very many hens in compare with the number of cockbirds. So this means that I've got the balance is swung towards older hens rather than younger hens. You always want to keep, you'll hear everybody say this, you always want to keep your shed relatively young. So try and keep it, that 1-2 year old birds. And then once you've used them, look to move them on to somebody who might be able to use them in their 3rd or 4th year. And however, like I say, my own experience has been that sometimes you'll have a period where you're having to use older hens purely because you don't have enough younger hens coming through for that particular breeding season. This breeding season I've had the reverse. So, I've got lots of young hens in the nappy flight that I can use next year. So touch wood, next year will be slightly different. But I would say 3 to 4 years is probably the maximum. After that, I would be looking to either move the hens on to somebody who might be able to use them in their final year, or I would retire them just to the main flight, let them have a rest. Of course, if you've got a hen that is, an exceptional hen, I suppose, and is producing really, really good chicks, year after year, then there's nothing wrong with keep trying her until you get to that stage where she's just not producing any eggs and not producing any more chicks. So no simple answer, I suppose. We all have our different views on this, but I would say 3 to 4 years is probably the maximum for a hen to be an exhibition style hen to be breeding. And the second question that came in was a couple of bits and pieces about when you first put the birds in, and how long, I suppose realistically it was, how long do you give them before you'd expect to see signs that they are looking to go down to breed. Now I will normally give my birds 2 to 3 weeks after I've opened the nest box in. So, and I think I've spoken about this before, I tend to put the birds in nest box closed for a couple of days just to stop the hen from just going straight in, or the cockbird from going straight in and then not giving them a chance to get to know each other, and to start to mate. So I normally give them a couple of days with the nest box closed, and then I would open them, and then I just keep an eye on them for the signs. First sign, I suppose, is of the hen going in the nest box is that I will see some of the wood chippings that I put in the nest box being shifted out, and that's always a good sign. And I'll start to see it inside the nest box that she's started to hollow out, that side of things. The other thing will be the cockbird feeding the hen, and also whenever the hen comes out, the cockbird chasing the hen around. And hopefully at some stage in those 2 weeks you will see the cockbird treader, although I've said this before, sometimes I will never ever see cockbirds tread a hen, and yet all the eggs will be full, or I will get full eggs out of it. So just not seeing it doesn't always mean that the cockbird isn't treading. The other thing, don't forget to look out for, is when a hen is getting ready to lay, just before she lays, she'll start to produce some quite large droppings, so large poops, and that's always a sign. If you keep an eye on the bottom of the cage, if you see some extra large droppings, extra large poos on the bottom of the cage, that's a sign that the hen is getting ready to lay. So 2 weeks. However, if I then start to see signs after 2 weeks that maybe they're a bit late getting ready and so on and so forth, give them a bit longer. But realistically, if the hen hasn't started to lay within a month, then I would split the pair and try them with something else. Particularly if it's an old hen, like you'll know that, and we'll go around that, perhaps talk about the two that aren't laying at the moment. A couple of older hens who are in the nest box, look the signs that they ought to be laying, but not at the moment. So, and they've now been in there for best part of a month, and I'll be looking to split those in the coming week or 2 weeks. So that's the in terms of trying to encourage breeding. How do you know what's going on? And again, I suppose it's linked to what I said at the beginning of this. Just watch them, watch the birds, spend some time just sat in the shed observing them, see how they're behaving, see those telltale signs that the hen might be getting ready, and you will get to know your birds and get to know whether or not you've put them in too early or they are about to go down. So that's Shed Talk question time. If you do have any questions, don't forget, pop them over on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook page, and I will do my best to answer them from my point of view, with my experience in my shed. Of course, do read books, have a look at all the other channels and what other people might say, and get a chance to see what other people might think, as well as just my channel. So I suppose here in the Budgerigar shed, it's pretty much business as usual, with the looking after the breeding cages, and then checking the flight cage to see if there's any birds that are coming into good condition that I might want to pop in or repair up with the ones that are failing in the breeding cages so far. I suppose the main action, or the main stuff that's going on, really is in the two of the wooden breeding cages. So the opaline grey cockbird in cage 8, I think it is, him and his partner have now started their 3rd round. So far laid 4 eggs. The first one of those is clear, but I'm hoping we might have a bit more luck with the remaining eggs. And then in cage 9 we've got the cobalt cockbird, the one that has produced the most number of chicks. Hen in there is now on her 3rd round. I wasn't going to let them go a 3rd round, but she had started laying before I'd taken the last of the chicks out, and she's currently laid 5 eggs, I think it is, of which the first one is definitely full, There's one in there that looks like it's not, but I'm not really sure. I think the others are likely to be full as well. Now the dilemma for me here is, do I, once you stop laying, remove the cockbird and move these eggs under one of the hens that has currently got clear eggs, or do I leave these two to raise their final and third round? There were a couple of birds in the second round that looked like they might be quite useful, and we did have a look at one of those. And I know that they can rear. I definitely will foster out a couple of the eggs if they've got more than 4 full eggs. So the remaining eggs, or either the early ones or the last ones, I will foster out. But whether I'm going to foster them all out, don't know. Thoughts. Anyway, so that's the main stuff that's going on there. The other thing is in the cage that's virtually behind me, there are 3 chicks in there that are just about ready to go into the nappy flight. And in terms of moving them from there into the nappy flight, it's always difficult. And I know, I think that when we went out to see Bob McCabe, we had a conversation with him around when's the right time to move the chicks from the parent birds, and he's got big cages, so he leaves them in a bit longer than perhaps some of us might want to. So for me, I think the telltale signs is obviously that they'll be feeding, and although they may still be calling for food, you'll see that they can feed themselves. They're shelling their own food. Perching is another one. If they're perching, fine. I always think that if they're on the perch, then they're ready to move. And I think Bob McCabe gave one very useful tip, was around the size of the tail. So once the tail looks like a tail rather than just a little stump, then at that point they may well be ready to be moved. And all of those signs are in there with that particular group of birds. So the weekend I will move the chicks from that, the youngsters from that cage into that nappy flight, which is now getting quite busy. Quite a nice number in the young bird flight, which is always good. And on the subject of the weekend when I'll be moving those birds, this weekend I've also got a meeting with the Swindon Budgerigar Society on this Sunday, and it's a presentation from the Holland Stud. If I can get some videos of that presentation, or a video of that presentation, I will do, and we will perhaps have a special Shed Talk special on that, or maybe I can fit it in and amongst the general updates. So I will definitely try to get some video of that presentation. Well, that is just about all we've got time for in this episode. As always, if you enjoy it, don't forget to hit the like button, do comment, and of course, if you haven't subscribed, then do subscribe to the channel. In the next episode, it will be out on, I think it's actually out on the 1st of April, so there won't be any April Fools in there. So, well, I don't think there will be, other than myself, of course. And in that episode, we'll talk a bit about what I've got coming up in April, the Barhead competition at Oxford 1910, and of course, what we might have out in the Fife breeding cage, and what we might be expecting to happen in April, and of course a roundup of the stuff that's going to go on in the Budgerigar shed. But as always, until then, do stay safe, and most of all, enjoy your birds.